But I think in EU right now, there's not a single good team that will just like play perfect the whole game, right? And I think that's what's making it a bit harder for the better teams, because they're not that much better that they can like just close out the game cleanly.
Hi everyone, it's Tom reporting from the LEC Summer Split 2022. With me here is Kaiser, the support of Mad Lions, who just closed out a 2-0 week, so that's pretty good. Perhaps the last game wasn't as ideal as you would have dreamed of, but overall you beat BDS very convincingly. Now a win over Astralis. Kaiser, coming back from a break, how does it feel?
I think it feels really good, especially because our scrims were not very good this game, this week.
Yeah.
So it feels really good to still make a 2-0 happen, right? Especially because we are like tied with Rogue now or something. I think Rogue can maybe like still win a game and
Yeah.
get first, right? But I think we are really far on top of the standings, which is like a really good thing, right? We wanna go to Worlds this season, and I think those 2 wins, like you could say they're against like a bit worse teams, right? I think Astralis has shown a lot of strengths, but you kind of have to still win against them, right? And we oftentimes just like dropped games against teams like that, and I'm happy that we won.
Okay, well, it's good that you're still optimistic about it. I actually want to dial it back a bit to that break, because it was a bit of a random break after week 3, so not even in the middle of the split. Did it throw you off in any ways, or in terms of momentum, or in terms of keeping the flow going?
Not really, I would say. I think, I mean, we didn't have like a full week of break. Like we started scrimming like after some time. Like I think we only had like 3 days off, and then we just started scrimming again. So it was actually maybe even helpful for us, because the new patch came out, right, and there was a few changes, right, a few nerfs and buffs. And I think if you have more time to prepare for the new patch, then yeah, it's kind of like helpful for all teams in a way.
Right.
And I think the break was also like fine. Just like just have some time off, right? It wasn't too much. It wasn't too like too short either. So it was just like fine.
Yeah, well, you're kind of already giving answers to a question I wanted to ask later, because I wanted to ask if the break in any way helped you, because not only you have this patch preparation, which probably affects teams still a bit differently, but in other ways you have Niski as a new mid laner, and sometimes when I see you guys play, it seems like he's fully integrated already. Other times, for example, when you guys are diving a tier 2 turret against Astralis, it seems like not everything is clicking in the team so far, and obviously that's not just Niski's fault. It's like the whole team kind of, I guess, zoning out at that point. But does that help, getting that extra time to practice a bit more with him and getting that going? How do you see that develop at this point?
I mean, I think our development with Niski has been really, really good. I think he fits in the team really well, right? Like his personality, like he's really fun to be with, right? And yeah, I think he just fits us really well. And as we said like multiple times already, like he has a good he has a big voice in the team. And of course, like sometimes we still mess up, right? Like as you said, like the tier 2 dive. Sometimes we have some miscommunication, right? Sometimes maybe get a bit too chaotic in comms, because like Aaron just talks, right? Like so we still have to practice a lot. Like for example, not talking too much over each other, especially, so we can still have like clear calls. So no one like so everyone is basically on the same page, right? Because like sometimes we just like get too hectic when the game is. I mean, for example, Camille is base racing us, right? What do we do? It can get really hectic, and I feel like we still have to fix to not get too overexcited, and to still have like a really cool head, and be able to make the correct calls.
Yeah, how do you fix something like this? I'm not sure if that's something you try to address in the extra scrim times that you have, but at the same time, it's hard to simulate in scrims that you're on stage, having that experience, having a base race. So how do you go about fixing something like this?
I mean, as you said, it's really hard in scrims because there's less pressure, right? And your heart is not racing as much, right? And then maybe you're not screaming on the top of your lungs in scrims, right? Because there's just less stakes. But I think there's still some situations where you're like in a 40-minute game, and I mean, you know it from solo queue, right? Like if it's like a really long game and the game is really even, and one team fight can win the game, even in scrims, you still feel like the pressure, and you still feel like really excited when something happens, right? So I think we just have to maybe before scrims make just like one guy the main like voice of the team, right? He just short calls, and like, let's say we're talking over each other, he just tells us to shut up. I think usually Yoya does it, right?
Yeah.
He usually just like screams on the top of his lungs to like just tell us to shut up, and then usually we get back to a like more cool of a head, right? And I think that's really important to have, that like someone just like makes the final call and we just follow it.
Yeah, all right. Well, what I want to talk about next is actually that the LEC is super close at this point, and you are now an LEC veteran, I guess. I'm not sure if you feel like this already, but you're in it for 2.5 years now, I think. No, this is your two and a
This is
half.
2.5
Yeah,
years.
2.5 years. Yeah. So time flies if you're having fun, right? But the LEC is incredibly close at this point, and many people are talking. Many games feel like coin flips. We see SK suddenly going to Misfits is on like this redemption run. You guys are, you struggled a bit with Astralis today, but then you dominantly beat BDS. G2 is on a loss streak. Something it's completely all over the place. So, what do you feel is maybe different in the LEC this time?
It's really hard to say, I would say. I feel like draft decides a lot more of the game, maybe. I think the teams that had really good meta reads, for example, Excel, I think had a really good meta read in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Same with us. I think that's why the games were like easier for us, because like some teams just, for example, didn't know that Yumi was turbo broken and you had to perma ban it, for example. And then we just got a few free wins, right? And for, I think this has been like the case for a bit more than just like the LEC spring. So like I think draft is just really, really important, and if you have a bad draft into the enemy team, even if you're like significantly better than the enemy team, it can still be hard to like just close out games, for example, or like if you make one mistake, the enemy is back in the game, right? Especially because of like turret platings, not turret platings, but because of the, how do you say, comeback mechanics, right?
Yeah. So,
Introduced.
yeah.
Like if you have one
The
bad fight,
bounties and stuff like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
the bounties, exactly. If you have one bad fight, or like if you get aced once, the game can like be thrown on its head, right? And I think that happened to us like 2 or 3 times almost, right? And I think it happened to other teams as well, right? Excel lost yesterday in a really like, I mean, to Astralis, right? Because they came back. So I think that's maybe a bit what's making the games more even. That just like, even if you fall behind early, you still have like always just a comeback mechanic if you can like win one team fight, right? Or of course, like really clean teams, for example T1 in LCK, they can still just snowball on you, right? But I think in EU right now, there's not a single good team that will just like play perfect the whole game, right? And I think that's what's making it a bit harder for the better teams, because they're not that much better that they can like just close out the game cleanly. And yeah, I think it will change after some time. I think
Okay.
the better teams will get better and not drop these kind of games. But it also really depends on meta, right? If there's like some OP champions coming up, maybe the worst teams figure it out, right? And then everything can change.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you say that that you at least hope that the good teams are gonna figure it out at some point. Because I'm looking at the LEC at this point, and also Worlds is approaching, and I'm looking at what's happening over here now. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm not so sure about this, but do you think it's good that at this point the LEC is so close then, or I don't know. You've also seen regular splits with Rogue dominating. You guys have been very dominant in the past as well. What do you think is better for like a healthy competition in the LEC?
I mean, it's hard to say, because like, let's say the worst teams are still really good, right? Then it's fine for the league to be close, right? Because then even the top teams have to like sweat for their wins, right? But if it's like if they're bad and the top teams are just also bad, then of course like being close together doesn't really mean anything, right?
Yeah.
So it really depends on just like the skill level of the league. I don't think it really matters whether like the league is close, because it just matters whether the league is actually skillful, right?
Right.
And right now, I think Europe is looking a bit shaky, honestly. I think we're not playing as well. Like I watch a lot of LPL and LCK. I think LCK has also some like problems, but I think the top teams of LPL and LCK look way cleaner. Of course, they still make mistakes and stuff, right? But I think generally, I would say that LEC is still behind. So I don't think it really matters like whether we are close together or not. But I'm really happy that the bottom tier teams are like showing up again, even without like any big roster changes or like big names, right? I think yeah, I'm really happy that they still show signs of life, and you still have to like not underestimate them to beat them, right?
Right. Well, we're gonna hope that this pressure on the top teams is gonna force them to level up at some point, or maybe we see a changing of the guard and we see SK and Astralis go to Worlds this year. Who knows? It's a crazy split so far. We don't know what happened. But thank you very much for joining, Kaiser, and thank you everybody for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content.